buggy project in the house. Let's get excited, boys.
We've got this Chinese buggy that we picked up a few years back. And when we first picked it up, we did a 6-inch lift on the rear of it. So the goal for today is to match the front suspension to the rear suspension with a 6-inch lift. And I've got a pretty straightforward idea on how to do it. Let me take you in. All right, so the idea is we have these top mounts here, and then you have your lower control arm mounts down there. They're about 6.5 inches apart, which is about perfect because the back was already a little higher than the front, so this should level it out about like I want it. All right, so we met our first point of contention here. It won't allow it to drop all the way because the steering rack is too high and it doesn't have enough articulation on that joint. No big deal, we'll just pop it loose and then we'll actually end up moving the mount later. All right guys, so as you can see, the idea again, we moved the top control arm down to the bottom mounting holes, and then we're gonna have to come back and do something about the bottom one. We went ahead and threw the swamp white on the other side, just really wanted to get an idea of what it was gonna look like with the bigger tire up there. That's a 28-inch. Getting ready now to cut the shock tabs off and move those down, and then we'll start fabricating the mounts for the lower control arm. So we got our shock mount on this side moved down where we need it. The next step, we're going to go over here to this other side and we're going to drop the top control arm to the bottom holes right now, move the shock down like we did this side and match it, and then we'll go underneath and we'll start with the bottom control arm stuff. Big difference though, with the stock tire on, it's the same height as the 28s on the other side, so definitely a big difference. Alright, so pretty cool, turned out nice. Got our shock tab cut off from there. Moved down here. Really happy with the way that turned out. Alright, so now I think I'm going to go ahead and throw this tire on the passenger side over here. And that way we can get an idea of how it's actually going to sit and ride height and all that. and then we'll start fabbing our mounts for the lower control arms down below. Alright, so we got both tires on the front now and kind of got an idea of what it's going to look like. We're going to get ready to start making the little bars that drop down to move the lower control arm down. What we're going to use for that, we have this old section of railing here that we took off of a front porch ramp deal, and it's the same diameter 1.5-inch tubing, and it's a little bit thicker than what the stock stuff is over here, so it'll be plenty strong. Give us something we can repurpose this for, and should be good. We're going to jump right in and we start cutting it up. Alright, so you get the idea. We went ahead and fish mouthed one side, measured out 7 inches from the shortest part and cut, and then we got to make 4 more just like it. Alright, so we got our 4 drop tubes cut down to size for our lower control arm mounts to go on. We're going to get ready now. We got to cut some little sections of the floor off of the bottom here so they'll sit up against the tube like we need them. And then, yeah, we'll go ahead and start stitching them on. So first things first, we're going to start cutting some of the floor out. Alright guys, so we got our bars dropped down for our lower control arm brackets on this side. Everything is bolted up, and I made a cross tube under there that's going to support the rails. I'm probably going to end up cutting these little edges and dropping it down to where it all meets at the mount points. But that's where we're at with that. We're going to go ahead over this side now and start seeing if we can cut these brackets off here. We've already got our drop tubes tacked on. We just got to get, you know, these brackets for the upper control arms cut off so we can move them down to the bottom. Then we'll cut us another bar to go across, and we'll start, you know, kind of supporting that back to the chassis. All right, so we've determined that the best location for the bar, I was debating about putting it, you know, at the bottom down here like this, above it, up there like that, but I think the strongest point is going to be to go right between the actual brackets and just put it in the middle. So we're going to get ready to tack that on now.
Ay, ay, ay.
Got hot, didn't it?
Yeah.
All right. No, yeah, we look a whole lot better this time. That's the thing, sometimes you do it one time and you kind of got a better feel for it. Well, bike level right now, that's 90 degrees, bro. You know, I had to level it out. That's, hey, you see that? I did so good putting the lift, it's level. Like it's hitting dead nuts. Look at this joint.
Well, your driveway ain't level, so that's bad.
No, my driveway is level too. I might have missed it by, well, I don't even think I missed it. It's like dead on 90. You see it? I think it's dead on 90.
That looks pretty good, man. I don't know.
I'm just saying, man.
We'll have to ask the people. We'll have to ask the people on the channel.
They have to let us know.
And I eyeballed that in too. That's 90.
90-ish.
Yeah, that's nice. 90.
God, dog, boy, I tell you.
Good luck with that.
All we gonna do here?
We could weld it down.
No,
Nah, I broke it.
That's a trick for all y'all at home. Your ratchet strap broke, you gotta put something in there and pop it out. Alright, so we got our front end dropped down to where we need it. The next thing we got to do is actually move the steering down. So this rack right here has got to be moved down to this bar. I'm going to go ahead, I think I'm going to start by cutting one side off, and then I'll put it down here on this bar, kind of get the, you know, the orientation right so that I got the exact 6.5 inches that we need. And it should be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead now, I'm gonna cut it off, and then we'll move it down, get that tacked on. We can move the rack down, we can measure the distance between, you know, the center of each clamp, and we should be right where we need to be. So that's the game plan. I'm gonna go ahead and move that down now. Alright, so we got these two bars moved down. We just finished welding them on. So they got exactly a 6.5 inch drop to match what we did over here on the control arms. Next step's going to be, we still got to cut a little bit of the floor away over here and over here. So we got plenty of clearance for the tie rods not to hit. And then we've got to take our steering shaft here, rather cut it in half and sleeve it. See if we can make it a little bit longer so it actually fits in there like we need it. But anyway, that's going to be the next step, is cutting the floor out. Alright, so we cut our steering shaft in half, and we got this stock here, this 3/4 inches on the inside. It's going to let it slide in just like that. We're going to extend it out. Last thing we got to do to get this ready is just drill these holes bigger so we can do some rosette welds on it. So we got our tube made, we got our holes drilled in the end. Slide that over, bring it. Oh, come on, you can get it. Back up and connect it. So now we just got to weld around the top seams, bottom seams, and all 4 of these holes, and we should have plenty of strength.
Alright, baby.
Alright guys, so that wraps up the front end of our buggy here. We got everything dropped down 6.5 inches. We got our steering hooked back up, our shaft extended. Everything worked out pretty good that way. The next video we're going to be jumping on the rear end for it. We got a KJ Racing center section we're going to build. And it's got the Miata axles. We'll have a long travel set up back there. And you know, eventually we'll come back and we're going to do a long travel to the front of this thing as well. But for now, just want to do a simple drop and get it where we can actually ride this thing and have some fun with it. So anyway, I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride, checking out the video. Leave us a like down below, comment if you got any questions or anything, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks and God bless.